thanks for tuning into the channel today. Just thought I'd do a bit of update on the three bikes what I've been riding at the moment. So that's the KTM 390 Adventure, the KLX 230 and the Royal Enfield 650 Interceptor. So if either one of these bikes interest you, or you're here for the channel for the first time and you're thinking about, or if you'd like to subscribe, please do. It's about to happen with each bike, and then you'll know what's coming up in the next few videos, because I've probably got about half a dozen or more videos planned, and it'll involve all three bikes. And you know, if one of these bikes happens to be your favourite ride, well, you'll get a bit of info coming up on what's happening there. So first off, we'll talk about the KTM. You have the KTM 390 Adventure. What I've got in this package should interest you. Only arrived on Friday. There it is, the 14-tooth sprocket. So I'll be keen to put that on the bike and get it out and just see really how it goes back over the areas I've been on before with the factory one, and just see how it pulls through those hills. I've never actually fitted a front sprocket before, but I believe it's just about to undo these bolts here at the side, one at the top. Let's loosen up the back one a bit and just push the back wheel forward, and then I can take the pressure off the chain and then slide the old sprocket off after I undo a couple of bolts in there, lock tight the new one in, and that should be good enough to get this going. And then I can go back out to the places where I'd tried this bike and the torque was pretty bad under 4,000 revs. Try it with this 14-toother and just see what sort of difference it makes. Now before I fit the 14-tooth sprocket, I've got to get this KTM 390 out on the road and do a back-to-back comparison with the 650 Interceptor, because that part of the test hasn't been completed first, and it has to be run in standard form with the factory sprocket KTM against the 650 Interceptor. So that's part one of the test, or two of the tests out of the way. So after that, it'll be done the next few days, and then I'll get straight into it and fit the 14-tooth sprocket on this one and get out and test this bike back to where I had it in the original area, and we'll see how it goes through the same place. Like I said, it took, when I was going to try to get a 14-tooth from the dealer, it was a 4-week special order from, I suppose, back over at the factory overseas somewhere, and I managed to secure it, and I'll go into that in more detail when I'm actually fitting the sprocket. So if we swing over to the KLX 230, in the next couple of days I'm going to take it back to where I did the original drone shots with the KTM when I first purchased it, out at Nangar National Park. And I'm taking this little bike out there in a couple of days' time, and I'm going to run it through all those water courses and do some drone shots and other stuff out there. And I'm taking the wife along on the ride, and she'll be in charge of doing some of the camera shots when I run it through the water courses and climbing it up a few of the hills and that. So that should make the video a little bit more interesting compared to last time I did virtually a walk and talk. This time I'll make sure there's a little bit something more than that one, so we'll see what happens in that direction. So that should be an interesting one, and that's going to happen today, Sunday. That's going to happen Tuesday, as far as I know. I'm going to hit Nangar. Well, on the KLX 230, a couple of guys inquired about what was that compact fishing rod I was using on that fishing adventure I went on to try to catch a rainbow trout. Well, the next time I hit the creeks, I'll bring that fishing rod with me, and I'll go into detail about that rod. And I might just do that in the next day or so, and I can just show that rod in detail. And then if anyone's ever interested in a fishing rod which is nice and compact and they can carry it around on the bike or anywhere else they want to put it, that's a good rod, because it folds down to around about, or pulls apart to around about 8 or 9 inches in length. And although it's not as good as a proper fishing rod, it'd probably get you out of trouble, and if you do want to do a bit of fishing, and I have actually caught fish with it, and it's probably worth using because it's nice and compact, and it fills an area where you can't go out there running along with a 3-foot rod poking out the back of your backpack or something like this, where this will fit right inside your backpack and it's nice and compact. Okay, then we swing into the Interceptor. So first off on the Interceptor, like I said earlier, I've got to do that back-to-back test between the KTM 390 and this one, and out on the road for a few bends, stuff like that. If you looked at my previous video I put up, I mentioned to you I was having steering issues with this bike, and if we go back to this part here, you'll find that I adjusted I loosened the steering off from where I marked it there and backed it off, I don't know, maybe 1/4 of an inch. Now, the bike on that trip back yesterday, and I did about 80 kilometres in total, was steering fine, but take into account now the bike just clocked over 6,000 kilometres from new on my way back, and if you ask me up until, say, the last 100 kilometres did I have that problem, well, the steering felt reasonable during that time, but not perfect. Now, sure, I backed it off and the steering feels better, but I'm just thinking now, you know, this might be a two-part fix here, because I've backed it off and the steering's definitely improved, but you have to ask the next question, did the factory really put enough grease or that in that steering head to start with? Because we all know, well, we might not all know, but I know that the Himalayans were prone to head bearing problems. And we also know that the factory has been fairly miserable at times putting grease in these particular bikes, especially Himalayans. And if it's a case of not putting grease in them, they're very slack when it comes to putting fork oil in the front forks of any of the bikes, and a lot of the times it's very inconsistent what's on one side of the fork and what you've got in the other. When the forks are being drained, how many mils of oil is in either side, so they do not run with any precision. So the plan for this bike is, as soon as I get a chance after I do these few minor tests, will be to rip out the front forks and totally repack the steering with fresh grease, then re-torque it back down. After that, I think I've done the job 100% compared to at the moment. I've just come in with a part fix, so that's the plan with that one. Next up, or prior to I do that, the first thing I'm going to is a oil and filter change. So with the oil and filter change, 3,500 kilometres, I dumped the Silcoline oil, which I wasn't happy, and put in Penrite 10W50 semi-synthetic. I've been happy with that oil. It's done 2,500 kilometres. Supercheap yesterday had a special on oil, and I've managed to get the Penrite again on special for $37 for 4 litres. That will give me 2 oil changes plus filter, of course. And I'm going to dump this oil now at 2,500 kilometres, just have a bit of a look at the oil, see if it's fairly clean, there's no contaminants inside as far as metal, anything like that. And I'll dump that and do the oil and filter change, get that out of the way. So that'll be something that'll be happening. And the third thing on the Interceptor, I'll fit the thumb guard after that one. So it was a waste of time before, because there's a bit of, if you fit the sump guard, it's a bit difficult to get there and do the oil change. I'll run this next batch of oil through it to 4,000 kilometres, and we'll see what happens from there. So that's what's happening. There's, I don't know, 6 or 7 videos between the 3 bikes. So if that interests you, and any of these 3 bikes, and you'd like to subscribe, please do. And I'm sure that there should be something of interest for anyone coming into the channel to have a look. And we'll see what happens. And once again, thanks for calling in, taking a look, and I'll catch up with you later.